Okay, so first things first, I want to show you how to vectorize an image, a photographic image. I've already gone online and found my image that I want to use. So what I'm going to do now is a little bit different than how you would do it in Photoshop. First of all, I'm going to close that. I'm going to go to File, and then I'm going to go to Place. I'm going to locate my file, and I am going to hit Place. You'll see this little icon pop up, one of one. You can place multiple files at the same time, but for now, let's just focus on one. I like to come to my top corner, but that's okay. It placed it there. Now, to scale this down, I'm going to hold the Shift key so it maintains the same ratio and scale it down. It will warp. If I don't hold Shift, you'll notice it'll get warped. We don't want that. To go back, say you accidentally warp it, in any program, anywhere, it's always going to be Command or Control Z, and that will reset your last step. So there is always a way to go back. Keep that in mind. Okay, so I still need to transform this down. So again, Shift, and I'm going to just drag that in. I'm going to hold Shift. I'm going to drag that in. Okay, now let's say I want this to be perfectly centered in my page. I'm going to come over to Align, and I'm going to center it, which it kind of already is, and I'm going to come back over here and center that. You can really do this in various ways. You could align it to the bottom, you can align it to the top. For now, I'm just going to go right to the center. So that's very useful when you're trying to place text as well. All right, great. Now we want to create an image trace of this layer. So you'll see over here, we have our first layer, and now we have our linked layer. We are going to come over here. We're going to come to image trace, and the really cool thing that Photoshop does now is that I'm going to Command Z on that one because I actually want to pull out the tracing presets. So tracing presets, you can play around with it. I'm going to show you how to do a 16 color photo. You can do black and white, which is what you just saw. So we are going to 16 colors. Let's try this now. Pull that out. They've changed it a little bit, but hit try now, image trace now converts to gradients, blah, blah, blah. We know. Okay, so now that we're in 16 colors, you can come here and you can actually adjust. So that's 16 colors. If I bring it down to 2, it's going to be a lot more basic. Give it a second. And if I bring it up to 30, it's going to be a lot more complex. I want it to have more of a cutout type vibe. So we're going to stick with 2 because I just like the way that looks. You can adjust the paths, the corners. You can create more noise. See what that looks like. Play around with it. This is really going to be the easiest way to vectorize a photographic image. I'm going to just kind of put it in the middle. I think that looks better. And for now, that's really all you need to know. Again, you can play around with how you want to trace that. If you want it to be color, grayscale, black and white, palette, full tone, play around with it, see how you like it. But again, if you wanted to switch that and say you wanted to go down to sketch start, these are all going to look different. Sometimes technical drawing looks very different than line art. So it's just going to depend on the aesthetic that you're going for. See, line art, tracing result, not great in my opinion. So I'm going to go back to my 16 color because I like that color palette, that sort of neutral, pastel, dusty palette. So that looks good. And then I'm going to limit those vector paths, create those more ambiguous, abstracted pixels with less detail. Bada bing, bada boom. So again, that you can leave this open if you think you're going to want to come back to it. Again, if you get lost and you need to find something, come back up here, search for it. That is really how we are going to trace our image. Like, let's say, I'm going to close this out because I don't need it right now. Just move it here in case I want to come back to it. But let's say I want to give this a nice background, right? How would I do that? Personally, I'm just going to come over here to rectangle. I'm going to start at the top. I apologize, my mouse broke. So start here. And you'll notice that this rectangle has covered my image. As in Photoshop, all I'm going to do is come over to my layers. I'm going to drag it below. So I'm actually going to select that one. Now you'll notice that I've selected my image. So I'm on that layer. I want to change the background color to white. So I need to make sure I'm on the right layer. I'm going to click on the rectangle. I'm going to use my eyedropper tool. I'm going to select, I think I like this darker color better. And then maybe that works, maybe it doesn't. You'll want to play around with it. Maybe I come up here. Maybe I want something, no thank you, over here. And then I have a nice background that stays in line with my color palette. So that is how we vectorize a photographic image. Okay, so for step 2, I want to show you how to find a custom font. Here I am on dafont.com. It is a very reputable site. If you download it, you're not going to be downloading any viruses, so that's really great. There's a way to just kind of go around and search for fonts, have fun, look around. It's one of my favorite sites. I'm pretending that I am going to make a poster for my friend's vintage shop, so I want to try this font out. Her shop is called Vamp Rodeo Vintage, and I am going to test it out. For now, that looks fine. I probably would take about 3 hours to find a font. Font and typeface are very important. But once I find what I want, I'm going to come over here to download, and it is going to download into a zip file. So I'm just going to double click, open that up. It should open the file. You're going to come over here, you're going to go to the TTF file, and you are going to click install. Once you click install, it should just automatically install into Illustrator. You may need to open save, make sure you save your work, but you may need to save and reopen Illustrator again. So let's see if it installed. I'm going to come over to typeface, and let's see, what was it called again? I already can't remember. It is called Great Warrior. Okay, so let's go over here, and this should all be alphabetical. Remember, I don't want you using typefaces that are already installed. I want you to play around and try to find one on your own. So it's in here, which is great. There are a couple ways that you can work with a typeface. You can create a box, or you can just point on here. And so I'm actually going to change this first. So let's move this up. So you are going to be able to control your typeface over here. So I'm going to do Vamp Rodeo. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to select that. Again, you can move your layers as well. I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to align that to the center. And then I am going to do another one. I'm going to put vintage down here. So oops, probably need to make sure it's selected. That's not what we want. And maybe it. Okay, so as you see, I have vintage down here. I'm going to move that up a little bit. Again, play around with the placement. Placement is really important. Yes, so we're going to just kind of move that around. You can also obviously change the color of your typeface. So while I'm on here, it says that my fill is right. This is my fill currently. I'm going to take my eyedropper tool here. I'm going to select this color. I think that looks a little bit better, a little less harsh and severe. I'm going to come back over to my direct selection tool, select this typeface, come back to my fill, go back to my eyedropper tool, shortcut I. I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to select that darker color again. And so here, it's not the best poster, but we kind of have the makings of a vectorized poster. Okay, so you'll see that I've added a circle here as well. I just want to zhuzh it up a little bit, make it a little less boring visually, add some shapes in there. You can kind of play around with things. You could add drop shadows. So say I come up here, effect. I'm going to find, where is my drop shadow? I can't find it. So I'm actually going to come up here and see if I can find it. Drop shadow stylize, and I'm going to give that a little bit. You can play around with that, and I'm going to give that a little bit of zhuzh as well to give it some depth. So, okay, looks good. Good enough for me for now. This is really just the most basic way to make a poster. But now we have to export our poster. So I am going to come up here. I'm going to go to File. First of all, always save a Illustrator copy. So first I'm just going to save it. I like to save it on my computer. In case you ever quit your Creative Cloud subscription, you will always have it on your desktop. So this is what we had it saved as. It's going to be on my AVC folder on my desktop in theory. And I'm going to click Save. That saves the native Illustrator file. I'm going to click OK. But now to view it, I actually have to export it as a viewable image. So we are going to export as. I am going to do you can do a PNG, you can do a JPEG. Those are fine for this version. Sometimes printers will ask you, if you were actually printing this, they might ask you for a PDF file. So keep that in mind. You will have to do that in a different way, which I will show you in a second. But I'm going to stick with a PNG. That's good enough for me. I'm going to go to my desktop, export, transparent for your background color is fine. Okay. If you need to export as a PDF, you can always go to File, Export, Export As. It should come up here. Just kidding. File, Save As. Save on your computer. You're going to come over here. So instead of saving as an Illustrator file, you will come over here and you will save it as a PDF file. So that is where you'll find PDF if a printer for some reason never asks you that. We'll just hit cancel. Okay, so now I'm going to come over here to my messy desktop and I want to show you where it is saved so we can make sure that you are uploading it correctly. You'll see I have my Illustrator file down here with the artboard, and then you'll see right here I have this 11 by 17 inch poster that we just made. This is what it should look like when you upload. If for some reason you have traced an image with the pen tool, which I am not going to show you for this tutorial because it gets a bit more complicated, just remember you can always turn those layers off if you don't want those to export. So keep that in mind, but that's really the bare bones to get your poster made. Please reach out if you have any questions, and I look forward to seeing your images.